This segment is all about the business of audio and podcasting. Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial, and this segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals publish to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. Joining me on this segment is Rodrigo Tigre. He's the author of Podcast Essay and the head of audio at AdsMoville. Rodrigo, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Mark. It's a pleasure to share.
Tell us a little bit about your work at AdsMoville and who are the types of clients that you serve?
Sure. Well, AdsMoville, it's an ad tech company that was founded in 2009 in Colombia. Now we have presences all over Latin America. Our headquarters actually is in the US, in Miami, but we have offices also in New York, in Chicago, in LA. And we have a presence in Europe, and we just opened up our office in Turkey. So the company was founded in 2009 to deliver advertising in the mobile space. And we develop our proprietary technology it's DMP, so we have a lot of data based on geolocation and points of interest. Mostly in Latin America and also US for US Hispanics, and we've been selling mostly video and display inventory. So we are mostly in gaming inventory. So rewarded videos and display. So I joined the company in 2023, in January this year. I'm in charge of audio, so mainly web streaming, radios, online radios, and podcasts. But I've been working with audio and podcast in Brazil for over almost 8 years now. I was, for 4 years, I was president of IAB Audio Committee in Brazil. And I'm still a teacher, and I have an Audio 360 course for IAB Brazil that we tell also brands how to explore more the audio environment. And I have this challenge now. So we now have presence in all Latin America. We already have campaigns starting there, and we are building our proprietary podcast network. So we started in Brazil. So we have about 120 shows in Brazil, and reaching like 1 million downloads a month. And now we are rolling out to Spanish-speaking countries as well. And
so for your clients that you're helping with the challenge of audio, tell us a little bit about that, about your solution. What are you helping the clients with, and what do your clients see as the biggest challenge that you help them with?
Great question. And well, we are very focused on big brands in all countries that we have presence. So we have clients like Coca-Cola, Unilever, Volkswagen, Toyota, local retailers, so all kinds of advertisers. And the way I see, and I can give you the point of view of Brazil and Latam, is that, well, in Brazil specifically, audio is very pulverized. So there's about 5,000 radios in Brazil. So it's really huge. Brazil is very, very big country. And we don't have, like you have in the US market, as a consolidation of radio. So you have like 2-3 big players in the US, like iHeartRadio, SiriusX, Pandora, and so on. So it's very concentrated. And as I see, when you talk to big brands, they tend to advertise on these spaces in the US. What happens in Brazil that is so pulverized, and we don't have like big groups of radio. The biggest radio group in Brazil has about 80 radios out of 5,000. So it's not a huge concentration for one player. Big brands tends to advertising normally don't advertise in radio offline. With our technology, we solve a lot of problems because it's very hard, to get data for Brazil of radio consumption when talking about offline radio consumption. There's also very hard to do a nationwide campaign for radio. You have to talk to many different players and so on. On digital, we solve a lot of these problems because we use data. So we have ad servers. We can when guarantee the delivery of your campaign. We use data to do it target campaigns, so I can reach women 35 in Brazil, and we also can do a nationwide campaign because we have agreements and contacts with thousands of local players from radios and podcasts and so on. So what I see in this past, I don't know if you can say the past, let's say 4 years, we during the pandemic we saw a lot of growth in terms of audio consumption. We were a little bit tired of screen, so we needed some off-screen time, and we found, and many people found in podcasts, in online radios, and so on, a way to entertain and also get information that you don't need a screen in your face. And as I see now, we have bigger brands looking into the audio space. And so Unilever, uh, Coca-Cola, this is a big brands that are starting to do things in audio and also podcast. There's also a side business of our company that we produce branded podcasts. So we produce a podcast for brands, and we have like Accenture as a client, Accenture the consulting company, and we can also provide the 360 view of the project. So we can produce it, we can host it, and distribute it, and we can also promote it with our network and generate audience as well. So this is a little bit of the solutions we have here.
On that podcast production side, working with the big brands, can you kind of give us a 10,000-foot view of what that looks like? How do you help them put together that show? Does it start with strategy? And how do you help them get that going? What does that look like?
Sure. So since we connect brands with audio, we have this content unit production. It is like a kind of a boutique production for big brands. Uh, and we can help them when they have the concept of the project. So we did a project for GM, General Motors, and they wanted to explore more the agricultural business. So they have like the S10. I don't know if they have the same brand in the US, but the pickups, the the GM pickups, and it's the agriculture uses a lot. So we created a 16 episode show for GM with a focus on agriculture. So we hired one of our partners. So we have over 10, 15 agricultural business podcasts in our networks. It's a very niched segment, but it's very valuable for advertisers. And what we did is that we hired one of our podcasters to host the show for GM. We interviewed a lot of different people. So we did from technology to entertainment. So there was a very wide range of subjects, but all involved in agriculture. And we also did campaigns with our network focus on agriculture as well. So we did host-read ads, we did dynamic ads insertion on the pre-rolls to, like a kind of a sponsorship. And we managed to generate almost like 80,000 downloads for a branded podcast that came from scratch, and they were very happy with it. So we can develop all kinds of projects for brands. We are now also starting to develop the first proposals and projects for US Hispanics as well, as we see is that there's a huge opportunity to create special branded podcast shows for Latinos in the US that can be in Spanish language, and we can promote and distribute and generate audience within our network.
That's a very instructive example you gave. And my question to you is, beyond the 16 episodes of that show that you've created, are there any plans to extend that and create an ongoing episodes for that show, or is it really going to be a finite 16 episode
Well,
series?
we are talking to them to see if we can renew it for next year. For sure, when it's a branded content project, we did it, for example, for Bradesco, which is a big bank here in Brazil. We did over, I don't know, 200 episodes. And brands need to understand that if they're doing a branded content project, it makes sense to have it like a continuity, because you generate audience, you create audience, but you have to keep pushing content, and that's something that we're also looking into. One if you are a brand and you want to like do just a campaign, we can also have we do have solutions where we can uh, put your brand in the podcast environment. We did it for Ford, for example. We have a campaign right now that instead of doing their own show, we're doing a 3-month campaign within our network. And we're doing like one branded episode wherein we invite a specialist from Ford to talk if one of our shows. So this way we can produce content to them as well, but we take advantage of the already existing audience of the podcast we are working with. So they can still have a presence on the podcast environment. It still could be a niche target, a niche market, but you don't need to have the continuity, and you take advantage of the podcast audience they already have.
Rodrigo, you're a wealth of knowledge in audio and podcasting and obviously experience. What inspired you to get into this field? Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm 49 years old. I turned 49 like last Sunday, and I've always my despite being in Brazil, my father was very technology. So I had a computer when I was 10 years old. So it was still cassette players instead of diskettes. So I'm that old, and technology always. I always had a curiosity towards technology. So when the internet started in Brazil commercially in 2000, sorry, in 1995, I was already, using BBS. I was already on the internet. So I started to create my ventures. So I created I liked the games a lot. So I had a gaming web e-commerce that was launched in '97. I was so young, and I was not very business wise, so we did a lot of mistakes. But what moves me is that I like the technology and the new industry that's always changing, always something new. So I was in podcast movement, and it was very interesting to see how the market is evolving in the U.S. And since we work in like countries that are not well developed, there's a great opportunity to bring what's more the technology you use there and practices and so on, and bring it to smaller countries or not that well development countries like Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Peru, and etc. So this is what drives me. But I've been working with internet since it started, and I love to see how it's evolving. Now we have ChatGPT, we have AI. The market is always changing, and despite my age, I'm almost 50 next year, but this 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 new novelty, this new things that always comes up. That's what pushes me in this industry.
Terrific. Who are the types of folks that you would like to connect with, and how could they connect with you and learn more?
Sure. Well, now that I have this challenge to develop audio outside the US, outside Brazil, I would say, in Latin America, in US for US Hispanics, and also Europe, we are very interested in podcast and audio inventory as a whole. As I told you, we started our podcast network so we can provide also independent podcasts that are either in Spanish or Portuguese, a way to monetize their inventory worldwide within these Spanish or Portuguese speaking countries. And I'm happy to help the industry and grow the industry. At podcast movement, I've met also a guy from IAB US, so we are talking to do some collaboration. So I'm very open to everybody that wants to explore more audio in those regions, basically in Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking country can reach me out, and I'll be happy to collaborate.
What would be the best email or website that you could direct them to?
Well, LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a lot, so it's always a good place to connect and match. It's you can type Rodrigo Tigre and you'll find me, and it's like LinkedIn slash IN slash Tigre. So it's very simple. I managed to get my last name there. My email is tigre@edsmovil.com. You maybe link it, whatever, if you can, or but that will be, the main places that you can find me. And I'm happy to talk and see what we can develop. Still, we have many years of internet industry, but as I told you before, this is always new things that happening, and we'll be happy to collaborate with everybody.
Really exciting stuff happening. Rodrigo, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today. And I wish you
Thank you.
continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the space. And hopefully, I'm giving informations to your audience as well.
That was Rodrigo Tigre. He's the head of audio at Ads Mobile. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals publish to educate consumers, grow their audience and their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.